Today I want to talk about Cyan. I think it's a very exciting company and one of the reasons I joined it. But before I do that, very briefly about my background. I spent the last 12, 13 years as a venture capitalist, working with the US business, generally on corporate spin-out, new venture partners, and I'm a partner in new venture partners. And prior to that, I spent more years than I care to mention in a large corporate called British Telecom. So I think I know something about the communication space, is what I'm saying. But on to Cyan, I just want to really, before I start, and really some of my experience of investing in technology businesses is, firstly, we always used to look for some compelling technology, something that was radical, something that changed the way you could do things. I think within Cyan, you'll see we've certainly got that. A second thing, though, for us in new venture partners, and I think it's true for most investors, is we really wanted a global market. It's okay seeing a market of 10 million, but I think that's a lifestyle business, not an investor business. So we want to see, and I want to see, a global market. So when I thought about joining Cyan as a non-exec, those were questions I asked. And so I'll show you around why I came to the conclusion this is very, very exciting. The other thing is, it really needs to fill a problem space. And what is the problem space? Well, if you think about it, if you look at the world today and you look at communication, we're all great when we get from, at home and get onto our BT hub or whatever we've got. It's even great now where we've got a wireless extension and we can go over wireless to that. But when you go outside and get on the mobile, not quite so good, is it? Have to make about 3 calls sometimes to finish a conversation. If you get in remote areas, it gets worse, and so on and so on. So the problem is the network doesn't extend everywhere. Now that is quite important where you see the world in 10 years' time being totally connected, not just by people, but by machines. And the machine market will be 3, 4, 5 times bigger than the number of people who are on the end of a telephone. So what do they need? They need total reach and always on. And that's what we call it. So we can't have things going up and down. You're trying to do a meter reading and the network's down. It can't work like that. So that's the problem space. And Cyan has some very unique technology that extends that network via radio into that space. So it's about mesh radio. So that's really what it is. Let me get through some of these slides. I put this up just to conclude on that, really, because as you can see, you're probably wondering, why am I showing you a map of Brazil and this little place out here called Umeta? And can you believe that there's, 1,000 lights installed there? And 2 weeks ago, I was in Cambridge, and the guy in Cambridge is looking at those lights. He can dim them. He can tell you if one goes out. He can send the maintenance guy out. So that's the power. That's what we're talking about. That's where the world is going, to that sort of control. Now, we're not there yet. There's a long way to go. But that's certainly today, you'll see we're doing quite a lot in that space. This is just on lighting. So let me get on. Cyan has 2 products. Clearly, mesh network technology is going to be the base for the Internet of Things. So anything you want to stick on the end of it, any sensor to communicate, this will do that. But we know the Internet of Things is probably 10 years away in real terms. Everybody talks about it, but who's making any money? And as you know, as investors, if you ain't making any money in the short term, you've got a problem. It gets expensive. So we've looked at 2 areas where we believe the market is here today. One is smart metering, and the other one is smart lighting. And what we offer on the lighting side is controls, which actually allow you to get much better efficiency and control. I mean, in the UK today, how do they know a light's gone out in a street? A man drives around in a van at night. We can look at that through a network function. So these things will have massive savings when we get to them. But if you look at Cyan, you won't see us in the UK or Europe. And that's very interesting. And the reason for that is, if you look at the business case and the rationale for smart metering today in Europe, UK, it's not a great business case. It's about green. It's about being able to say how much power you use on the fridge as opposed to this. Power companies can use a little bit of some benefits. It's not a great benefit. And so somebody asked me earlier on, when am I going to be able to get to a point where the guy doesn't knock on the door to read my meter? And the answer is, it's going to be quite slow, because it's not a compelling business case. Who makes any money out of that? They can't charge you extra, can they? So it's not a great business case. If you go to emerging worlds, then you've got a completely different scenario. A completely different scenario. 32 billion of power loss, theft in India. It's incredible. People climb up poles and put clips on there and then run off and draw the power. They pour sugar into the meters, so wasps and things crawl in the meters, and the meters don't work. The analogy I use is a bit like British Rail before they had all the turnstiles, when you could just walk on a platform, get on a train. I don't know what British Rail lost. I'd love to see what revenues they gain once they put the turnstiles in. But that's what's going on in these countries. Now, here's the problem for India and Prime Minister Modi. He's got a massive amount of people who are not on the grid. But you can't get them on the grid if you can't actually get the power companies to make enough money to build a network. And you can't build a network if you've got theft. So this now becomes quite compelling, is what I'm trying to say. Just a quick look at how we do it. If you look at two solutions, we'll put something in the light, something in the meter. It's a small chip. It signals. It goes to a data concentrator. This can manage about 200 of these lights. Data concentrator back to the internet. And so via radio and this mesh network that's always on, you now have a very smart system. Talked about the market size and said that I like big markets. I like big global market. Have a look at this. These are big markets. And have a look at the percentage of rollout today. It's hardly started. Something even more exciting is these markets don't add up the people who are not on the grid. India, another 300 million. Africa, another 600 million. So this is going to be a very interesting space for rollout of this sort of capability. One of the problems, of course, for Cyan's got about 40 people. We're in Cambridge. That was a big ask. 2 products, very large market, global. We're not going to do that from Cambridge. So what we've been working on is within country to build up very significant partners. So we will supply the radio, we will be behind and support that, but the sort of people here as partners will do the stuff on the ground. They will install meters, they will integrate on the ground. Meter manufacturers will supply meters, we'll integrate our chip into their meters. So really it's a very inclusive model, and it works because the in-country people are in India or Chinese. It's not UK. It can't work trying to operate that from the UK. Expensive model, and even culturally, I don't think that would work. So this is what we're in the middle of at the moment, and I'll show you where we are, but we've been here 5 or 6 years on this, and we've got very significant partners and some very significant customers. I'll come on to that. In fact, I'll come on to that right now. Here you can see our presence. And if you look over here, we picked up £1 million order just last year in Mysore in India. Tata Power, biggest utility in India, and supplies all electricity to Mumbai. The partner we're using there is a company called L&T, 25 billion turnover. They've been installing that with us in Tata. So Cyan is a very small company playing with very big players. Here's the nice thing about this model is 5,000 meters connected, working, customers acknowledged how well it's all going. They have 2 or 3 million meters requirement. Our evidence is nobody ever gets kicked out of these contracts. So if you do it and you do it well, the next 3 million of orders comes to you. So what we're about is getting into these places to get these pilots running, to pick up ongoing orders as we go. So it's a very nice, sticky model. Again, talked about partners, but you can't do this without a strong management team. And this is a very strong management team. Peter Main has come from Sensors, a $1 billion business in the US. Why has he joined Cyan? Why have I joined Cyan at my age? I should be hanging my boots up, but I'm so excited. I sometimes say to people, this is my last gig, but I'm here because I'm excited by it. This guy here from Vickers, I've just forgot the name of the company, Mark Hall from Silver Spring. Is it Census? Is Emma in the room? This guy's come from Census, 60 million Indian business in the space. John Cronin, a serial entrepreneur. I worked with John 12 years ago on a very nice deal where we were based in India as well. So we've been here before, is what I'm saying. We know what we're doing. We've all invested money in it. And we think this is going to be a very interesting space to be in. So a very strong management team. Let me say something about Cyan, though. If you go off and look at Cyan, you might be confused. One question you might have asked me is, why are you on the AIM? Is it a bit early? And the answer is probably yes. But we went on the AIM here as a microchip company. And really, Cyan, so we call it old Cyan and new Cyan. We didn't want to change the name because we built up such a reputation. But really, the new Cyan starts about here. So if you're looking at this performance of the company, this is what you want to look at from about here. And it's new Cyan that we're getting very excited about. The market, I believe, is on the cusp. These orders we're seeing, we have another order, an LOI for 3 million. If we turn that into an order, Cyan suddenly's revenues start to turn. And I think they will turn quite dramatically in the next year or two. So, as I've said, I hope you found that interesting. I think it's very exciting. I'm going to stay with it. I'm not going to hang my boots up quite yet. But thank you for listening. And if you have any more questions, come and see us on the stand.